room at some point in your career, and it might be right out of the box, out of business school or a first job. You may branch out on your own very quickly, either with yourself or with a group of individuals to start your own firm, etc. Unless you end up at really a real large firm for your entire career, you're probably going to want to go out and get yourself your own office. And I want to talk to you a little bit about why you should do that, where you should do that, and what to look for in terms of leveraging what's out there that's best for you, especially as a young firm, even as an individual or a small partnership. But we see it all the time here in Chicago, and I run across it all the time at the Board of Trade building and in other places. So a little bit of context here. My goal is to communicate to you kind of what I see out there in terms of what should be done and what should not be done. But having a very energized at-work environment where you got someplace to go, your head is up, your focus is on, and you're ready to go. I mean, the Board of Trade, when we bought it in 2012, was fascinating to walk into and just see and feel the level of focus. And these folks were not going to trade for, they were going upstairs to their offices. But to feel that level of intensity and focus and game-on attitude about their approach to the day, even though they were just going to their office space, was fantastically impressive. Also, when it comes time to think about recruitment, you got to hire some people, you got to hire some technology people, things like that. They're going to be much more excited about coming down to a meaningful place, or trade or otherwise. But a place where there's definitely a sense of office and culture, and it doesn't need to be necessarily pretty, but it needs to have energy. So, also obviously offers your firm the ability to have a little more credibility when you got a nice address in a big city on a big street. If you talk about where you want your office, this is potentially master the obvious, potentially not, but big, giant, global cities where trading is happening. Chicago, the pretty summertime picture, is one of them. This is not where you want to start your trading firm. Newport Beach is beautiful, Newport Beach is awesome, and when you are in the sunset of your career and you want to trade from your office in Newport, feel free. We see it with great frequency. People that start off in these environments and quickly, if they do have some success, quickly migrate here to Chicago, I'm sure New York and otherwise, but to get the infrastructure, the resources, the network to tap into in terms of finding people to surround themselves with that are in this industry, this is not it. So this is where it's minus 10 degrees and the water's colder. This is the environment you want to be in. This is a focused environment that will cause you to enjoy spending 18 hours a day at work. Building whatever it is you're building. Talk a little bit about finding value out there and kind of what it looks like. And I'm not going to get real specific, except for maybe one item here, and that is when you think about how much you should be spending on office space. And you're doing pretty good, and you're in the right ballpark if you're at about 5% of what you're grossing. You start spending 10, 20%. You should be selling shoes, and you're getting a nice corner space there, right? But the metric for what you should be spending is about 5% of your gross revenues. So I just kind of stick that number in the back of your head for future reference. Real estate in these big cities is extremely expensive. Chicago being an absolutely fantastic value just because it's not coastal and it's not London, but it's still an expensive endeavor. And the risk is that landlords like me want you to sign leases for as long as possible. That adds the most value to my building. But my agenda here is to tell you what you should be doing, not what I want you to do. So there's some honesty here. But in any case, when you're starting out, you really want to keep it as short term as possible and mitigate that risk, because if there is a regulatory change, if there's a change in your small blossoming little three-man partnership or three-woman partnership, if you have any kind of change, you're going to be stuck, and you're going to be stuck with a 3-year lease, a 5-year lease, things that people want to try to talk you into. You want to keep it short. So when you come out of the box, You want to be looking at ideally month-to-month type of situations. And that's your shared office space. You've heard of Regis, and you've heard of, I mean, there's 10, 20 of them now, but these shared office environments, look at those. They offer month-to-month. They are expensive. That's the negative with them, but you should look at them. The other month-to-month opportunities, some of the clearing firms, less and less are doing it. There's less and less of a need for it. But the clearing firms, that if you are on the trading side of the business, your clearing firm, you'll have an agreement with them to provide service, and they may provide you some short-term office space. Look at that. The best value, though, is really to look at subleases. And so we are a commercial real estate firm. You know, we've got with our partners, geez, probably about $4 billion in buildings under operating management, and we sublet. We always have, and we're owners of big, giant, pretty office buildings, but we sublease. It's where you find your best value, just like you would in a apartment rental situation. As long as you're flexible and be able to be mobile, subleasing is where you're going to be able to find your best value, your best space, and your best buildings on the cheap, because people are obviously trying to get rid of something. So look at that first and foremost. And once you're at that, I'm willing to consider a 1-year term. You've got enough gas in the tank to last you 12 months. That's one of the things you should look at for sure. And then once you get a longer term outlook, maybe you've been doing this for 3 to 5 years. You've got some money in the bank, and you're moving onward and upward. You're starting to look at 3-year plus leases. I still recommend to stick to the sublease as long as humanly possible. Don't let anybody talk you into things that you shouldn't be doing, and that is taking on term risk. At the end of the day, I'm selling to you. I'm selling to you in 5 years, and you're a young and growing firm. And what I can offer you is this small, shorter-term office space, but I can offer you all these fantastic amenities in our building. A big conferencing center. So should you have a couple times a year the need to have a big meeting? Sure, it's right here. It's cheap. You don't have to go out trying to find that kind of space. We have 24-hour gyms. We have very similar to what residential has gone to these days in terms of amenitization. But restaurants, food and beverage. We have a beautiful rooftop deck. We just opened at the board. A lot of the buildings have gone and done big rooftops. But finding cheap subleases, things like that, these big, well-amenitized buildings is the way to go, I think, because it really gives you the opportunity to leverage every last dollar that you're spending in rent to get as much as possible. And finally, how do you go about finding these things? You start your own business, you're going to have everybody in the world come out of the woodwork that's a commercial real estate tenant guy who's going to want to help you out. Be a little wary of that. What I would focus on is finding a young, motivated tenant broker who's going to take your small, short-term requirement on and look to grow with you over time. Don't let anybody, again, talk you into anything about, say you got to do 5-year leases or this, and there'll be a stage for that, but you want to find a young person who's willing to take your instruction and go find you what you're looking for. Always have the ability to sublet your space. Again, very similar to the residential model that I'm sure you all know about, but no matter what kind of lease you do, you want to be able to jettison as much of that liability as possible. So even if it's a 2-year lease and whatever your kickoff plan didn't work out after a year, you can obviously stick somebody in there for a year and not let it crush you. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Someday you'll be ready for the big giant, 5 or 10-year office space with the whole new build-outs and probably some of the space like you'll see tomorrow with big 100,000 square foot firm. But in the interim, always be mobile mentally in terms of the ability to pick up and leave and move on. And technology has made that extremely easy to do. Not very long ago, everybody had big data rooms. When the migration went to the trading firms came off the floor and went into office space, these trading firms had these huge data rooms to handle all their new electronic trading. Well, that, as we talked about earlier, that's all been migrated to the cloud. So the ability to be mobile in these buildings like ours that all we do is push our connectivity allows you to hopscotch relatively easy. But that's pretty much it. So I wish you all a lot of luck. I hope you're out there looking for office space from us. But when you start out, definitely manage that risk. Don't do anything long term. Stay in really big cities and find good value-oriented space. So that's it. Thanks for having me.